The New York Knicks crush the Chicago Bulls. They shoot the lights out. They end their undefeated season. It's their most complete win of the year. We're going to talk about it right now on Locked On Knicks.
You are Locked On Knicks, your daily New York Knicks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
You are locked on to the New York Knicks. My name is Gavin Schall. I am a New York City native and a credentialed media member that's been covering the Knicks for nearly a decade. He is Kris Pursiainen, an NBA reporter for Clutch Points, who's been covering the Knicks at MSG now last 3 or 4 seasons. And this is Locked On Knicks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day, your daily podcast on the Knicks, giving you the most detailed insight on your favorite team at least 5 days a week. So be sure to join thousands of other Knicks fans as we're quickly approaching 10,000 subscribers on YouTube and subscribing there. And for sure on your favorite podcast platform for the best insight on your favorite team every single day. And tonight's episode is brought to you by our good friends over at Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Kris, it is a 128-116 win for the New York Knicks over the Chicago Bulls. On today's show, we're going to talk about a hot start from Jalen Brunson, bounce back game from Josh Hart that was much needed, Mikal Bridges matching a career high with 9 assists, and a whole bunch of other stuff. But you were there in MSG, hanging off the ceiling. What was your biggest takeaway in person in this one?
Biggest takeaway in person, I guess I'll say energy. Energy was my biggest takeaway. I think tonight you saw, and this is technically a negative for New York, right? But it also is what it is at this point in the season. Tonight you saw how the round orange thing going inside and through the other round orange thing can kind of have a ripple effect on effort in the margins. And so Mike Brown said after the game, this is the closest, the Knicks have gotten to playing a complete 48 minutes. I think it's worth noting they have definitely not played a complete 48 minutes just yet. And coaches talk about this all the time, and it never happens or whatever. But this is a Knick team that if they're going to play this style of basketball, up tempo, living and dying by the three, making sure that their 3-point shot is a threat so that they can drive, making sure that their drives are a threat so that they can get open to shoot. It's complementary football, really. I see a season ahead of football analogies for me, because this Knicks system is really, really all about establishing the run so that you can throw it deep. And we'll talk more about that as the year goes on. But tonight you saw the Knicks, getting their explosives. The Knicks were making their threes. They shot 20 for 42 as a team from downtown. And I believe Chicago also shot above 40%. But this shows why you can't really just look at percentages and be like, oh, they shot better, so they'll win. Or the Knicks shot well, and they did the other things well. So the shooting was like the whipped cream, the cherry, and the syrup on top of a dessert extravaganza. Even with the lackadaisical effort and shooting to close the game, which they earned the ability to play that way, but also not optimal. To see that lead cut in half to close the game is just a 12-point victory for New York. Everything was rolling, it felt like, and it got to the point where they could kind of mail it in. So in summary, energy was the takeaway in person, because the Knicks played tonight like everything was going their way, and they knew it. Jordan Clarkson was playing like he knew whatever shot he took was going to go in. So it was his responsibility to the crowd to make what happened in between the start of the possession and the shot attempt as entertaining as possible. As if he knew he had a cheat code that, Peter Griffin, the corner three, no matter where he shoots it from, no matter what, it's going to go in. So it's his job, it's his responsibility as an entertainer, as a performer, to make the journey to that shot attempt as entertaining as possible. Whether he was pulling from 28 or crossing people up, it was a show tonight. Energy is the takeaway.
Yeah, he was awesome. I was just going through because I wanted to make sure I had this right in my head before I said it. 9 Knicks got real minutes in this game. We'll talk about, hopefully, if we get there. Gershon Yabusele only playing 2 minutes in the second half, or first half, excuse me, never to be seen again. I would argue all 9 Knicks who actually played in this game played well, like to some extent or another. And obviously that is an incredibly powerful thing. And if the Knicks do that, playing with pace, and if that play well translates to both ends, which I think it did for pretty much everyone who touched the floor for the Knicks, they're going to be an incredibly tough team to beat. But I thought it was Jalen Brunson and Mikal Bridges in conjunction setting the tone. Brunson, a 19-point, 4-rebound first quarter. And it felt like this was like one of the I don't want to say one of the first times this year, but I think especially in the half court, Brunson's benefited from pace all season. But this was the closest to me, maybe outside of that first game against the Cavs, where it looked like it did in Abu Dhabi, where you saw Jalen getting, I don't even want to say easy buckets because a lot of them didn't really come easy, but like really clean looks off of pace and also just off of great screening. Like I think his first bucket of the game was Brunson getting a rebound, shuffling it to Mikal Bridges. Mikal full sprint down the floor, crossover to break the Bulls defense, and then like pulls it out, flips it back to Jalen trailing, and Jalen gets a wing three. Like that's a shot you don't look for from KAT. You don't typically see that from Jalen, but that's him. Initial push, continuing to run, find an easy shot, and then the screening aspect of it. Like the Knicks come out, run a little horn set with KAT and Mitch. JB runs around both of them. Those are two giants. We haven't gotten to see a whole lot of time with both of them on the court and the potential of that. And Jalen just using them as like a maze for his defender to get around, and he hits a 3. Then again in transition, like right through Herter for an offhand righty layup. Sprints by Tre Jones. This might have been the fastest I've ever seen Jalen Brunson look at
he was having fun, especially in the first quarter. He was just having fun out there.
He doesn't, like, Tre Jones doesn't even flip his hips on the play, because Jalen, he looked like De'Aaron Fox, like just shot right past him for a layup. That was awesome. And then one more from Mitch, where Mitch flipped the screen. He's gotten so good at that over the course of his career. And then Jalen banked another 3. And then for the Mikal aspect of it, we'll circle back on him, because the 9 assists were super exciting and impressive. I think you tweeted about this moment. I'm sorry if I'm misattributing that. I saw a bunch of tweets tonight, but he sprints back after an OG turnover, and it's a 2-on-1. Brunson's back 2. But he strips Modest Buzelis, and then the Bulls recover and end up just putting it back in for a layup. Mike Brown calls a timeout, and Mike Breen on the broadcast reported that Mikal Bridges screamed, like, get back, to like everyone else who didn't trail.
Yeah, that was the safe for TV report from Mike Breen on the broadcast. That was half of what Mikal Bridges said.
Yeah. I love that. But you circle back on that because, one, I think the rest of the team did bring commensurate effort to that the rest of this game after they were embarrassed by their lack of effort in the first half against the Bulls last time. But I'll go all the way to the fourth quarter, where there was a play where Mikal Bridges sprints back to contest Tre Jones, and OG takes his words from the first quarter to heart, and OG runs down the floor after him, doesn't want that to happen again, swats his shot into the crowd. And that was sick. And that got me fired up, because I thought back to that first quarter moment. And Mikal, a guy who was like quiet, like demure, if that's the right word, like almost shy on the court, like in his own world for the bulk of last season, him being confident enough and empowered enough under Mike Brown to speak out like that speaks volumes to me, and has me just really excited after what has just been a great start to the season for him.
Yeah, Mikal Bridges, a lot of offseason talk all summer long from everywhere about how he's in for a big year. I think a little bit of that was spite. Okay, he was clearly not meshing with this previous coach. So new coach comes in, and he'll be fueled and fired up and ready to, explode into the new season. I think part of it was also style of play. Okay, last year, and this kind of goes to what you were talking about with the offense, where last year the Knicks offense was primarily Jalen Brunson problem solver. That said, I think there's something to Mikal kind of finding joy in just going all over the place. I think Mike Brown has kind of deployed him as a force of chaos. Mikal Bridges kind of has this role that is like, go figure it out. Go figure out how you fit in on a play-by-play basis. Hey, you're really good at defense, right? Yeah, so you figure it out. And I think under Mike Brown, his role has been much more defined. Yeah. His role has been much more straightforward. And even if it's different on a nightly basis, he knows what it is going into the night. And for whatever reason last season, the communication wasn't working. It is now. And so when you see Mikal Bridges in this offense, in this defense, I think it really just is a testament to the kind of chaos that he brings to the table. And I think that's how Mike Brown has been deploying him. Hey, you blew that you blew that screen coverage and you're a second late. Well, this guy can pull up in the mid-range. Okay. He's driving to the cup and you're overrunning it to recover. He's just gonna pull up that little shot put midi that he had. Like, Mikal kind of has this weird game where he's a NBA wing, but he's lanky and he's thin and he is not super physical. And I've criticized him for this in the past, but it seems like Mike Brown is finding a way to harness the chaos and unleash it on other teams strategically.
Yeah, and I want to get into that a little further because I think Mike Brown has helped him to the point where the offense is getting assists for him. We'll get into that and a whole bunch more next on Locked On Knicks. But first, I want to tell you about our good friends over at Robinhood. Your ambition just met its match with Robinhood. You play for the win, not just on game day, every day, locking in every opening, beating your PR, beating it again. Channel that drive into your money. Robinhood puts you in control of your money. Trade stocks and ETFs, options, futures, and crypto all in one platform. You can now build and execute your own trades from a desktop with Robinhood Legends advanced tools, or take advantage of the new Robinhood strategies with a tailored portfolio managed by a team of experts. You expect more from yourself, expect more from your money. Get started today at Robinhood.com/yourmoney. And that's Robinhood.com/yourmoney. Your money, your move. Also want to tell you about our good friends over at Game Time. Basketball season is officially here, and nothing beats being in the arena for those opening games. But let's be real. Getting tickets can just be a total headache. Between waiting in queues, surprise fees, and prices that jump right before checkout, it's so easy to get frustrated when all you want to do is cheer on your team. That's where Game Time comes in the app. That gives fans the advantage. It's your ultimate life hack for scoring amazing NBA tickets fast, easy, and stress-free. I recently used Game Time to grab tickets for a Mercury Liberty game. I was in the area. Fourth quarter was about to get rolling. It was nip and tuck. I said, you know what? Let me look. I found $4 tickets. That was sick. I got seats in minutes. It was awesome. Their zone deals are a game changer. You pick the section, Game Time picks your seats, and you save big. You can even find NBA tickets for under $25. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. That's code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, and go. All right, what up, guys? Gavin, Schall, Kris, Pursiainen breaking down the Knicks' most complete win of the season. I think that's fair to say, 128-116 over the Chicago Bulls. I just wanted to put like a little cap on your point, which is very well said. On Mikal Bridges, he had 9 assists in this one, which tied a career high. And I thought this was, I don't want to say far, but I would say pretty clearly not his best playmaking game of the year in terms of just like the degree of difficulty on his passes. But so much of it is just him flying off a handoff, getting into the lane. And I said this last year, and I think we saw a lot of it when Brunson was out with that ankle injury. Mikal might not be like a Julius Randle tier, like crash the defense, draw 3 guys and set up an easy corner 3. But he is a turn the corner and draw like legitimate gap help. Like, even if he's never been an all-star, he has that level of respect as a mid-range scorer, as an offensive player. And over again, he can just leverage that into easy shots for his teammates. I thought his pass of the night came in the fourth quarter where he had a little screen reject, genuine no look. Sometimes they'll do the look to the corner, then the look away. But to me, at least on first glance, it seemed like a genuine no look lob, cross court to Deuce as he was retreating into the opposite corner. Deuce hit it in rhythm 3. That was great. Mikal only 10 points in this one, but a couple of stretches of really nice offense in the third, back-to-back baskets where he had an above-the-break 3 off a swing from KAT, and then an OG drive where he timed his cut perfectly. Those two, to me, Kris, have showed off really improved chemistry this year. He gets a reverse layup off of that. The defense was much better after, I thought, a pretty dismal showing Friday in Chicago. Had some really nice possessions, like one where he just pulled the chair on Modest Buzelis, causing him to travel. Another one where him and KAT, like, we critique them so often for their pick and roll defense. I just wanted to highlight this, where Mikal fought through 2 screens to stay attached. KAT, like, was in his stance, and he just sunk perfectly between Giddey and Patrick Williams, and he only committed to Patrick Williams once Mikal had fully caught up. Josh Giddey actually ended up scoring that play. He hit a turnaround jumper, but that was just textbook pick and roll defense. If a star makes a shot, a star makes a shot, but I love to see that. I want to hear from you on Josh Hart. We got some new reporting on what exactly the finger injury is. It's a little more involved, I guess is the way I'll put it, than we previously thought. And despite that news, Josh roughly looked like himself and had a fantastic game and easily his best showing of the season so far.
Yeah, Mike Brown joked after the game that, well, actually, let me start here. Yeah. Ian Begley asked Mike Brown about that report and about how Josh, loses feeling at times in some of his fingers. And Mike Brown, you watched him choose his words, which, expected in a sensitive situation like this. But then he kind of stammered his way through the start of an answer and just cut to the chase and was like, I didn't know that. Which was the real, the answer was 30 seconds after that, but that was the juicy part right there, is that he said to reporters on Sunday night that he did not know that Josh Hart's symptoms of this issue in his hand go as far as numbness of fingers. He had, he's, after saying that he had jokes, he said, 14-9 with a numb hand. I'm interested to see what he's able to do when he's healthy. Which puts
will he be healthy?
A light spin on the situation. I do think there's something I'd like to discuss with regard to this, which is the lack of hesitation with which fans have approached sharing their medical. It's not even about like fans are doctors, whatever. Fans are very comfortable right now being like, Josh should have gotten the surgery when he found this out about the nerve problem, and then the team would have been healthy from January or February and on. And I just I can't co-sign any of that energy. I think it's so and this is not anything that's like an indictment on each individual fan that says this to someone.
I just, to be clear, I've said it a lot while also caveating that I recognize I don't know all the variables.
It's just
I can't know all the variables at play. But yeah, go ahead.
When you're an NBA player, which is a reality that I'll never understand, but something that has been made clear to me that I think is under discussed by fans in general, is how few years you have, particularly in your prime, so to say. Josh Hart is in the midst of his athletic prime on an NBA team that is contending for a championship, and amidst a coaching change, which you can say pretty inarguably that it seems that he will have the largest change in role of anybody from one year to the next. He's just supposed to sit out for 3 months because Eric at home or Vanessa at home decided that he should take 3 months off from his athletic prime of doing what he loves because they decided that it's worth it. It's like, well, I don't know if you guys are aware of the caliber of doctors that these guys have access to, but I'm not trying to posit that you can never question anything that happens in the NBA because they have more resources. My point is, Josh has been made very aware of the long-term risks that he carries by doing all this, and he's decided that he can play. So instead of coming into the season and debuting 3 months into a new coach, new system, new offense, new deep, he's playing. And he said at media day that if he needed to, he'd get the surgery midseason and move from there. Do they want Josh to get surgery and then immediately get another surgery and be like, hey, that first surgery didn't cut it, not going to be back until January or February? Because if the suggestion is that the reactions would have been understanding to that, oh well, it's for the it's for the greater good.
Well, but it's not about the reaction. It is about winning a championship, right? Like, and to be clear, like, to your point, I don't have all the facts. So I can't say definitively that him getting the surgery would be the best thing for the Knicks winning a championship. But
So that's it
to me,
too.
I'm just saying the fan reaction should not dictate what he does. It should be like what is best for the New York Knicks should dictate what.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think that's exactly my point, which is people kind of don't leave room for that. They think that they think that way, but in reality, it's their way or the highway. They think that what would be best for the New York Knicks is Josh taking one for the team in quotes now, and then returning it. What if what's best for the New York Knicks is Josh playing through this? What if the difference in caliber and quality of play because of this issue is not commensurate with the benefits that would, like, there's no room left for anything other than here's what I decided, so it's right.
We'll come back. A couple of final quick hitters. Jordan Clarkson was also awesome in this game. Karl-Anthony Towns had some real moments. OG Anunoby was taking off for dunks seemingly every other play. We'll get into it next right here on Locked On Knicks. But first, I want to tell you about our friends over at Rougiette. Let's be real. Making excuses doesn't solve anything. We've all heard them before. It just stress. I'm tired. It happens to everyone sometimes. But when it comes to performance, sometimes your body just needs a little extra support. And that's where Rougiette comes in. Rougiette offers fast-acting, doctor-prescribed treatments for ED designed to help you stop making excuses and start making moves. Rougiette makes it easy to get started. You just get connected with a board-certified doctor 100% online. No awkward waiting rooms, no in-person appointments. If prescribed, your treatment ships discreetly to your door. The process is fast, simple, and private, and it's all handled by real doctors. It's about confidence, connection, and getting back to the moments that matter. So visit rugiet.com/LockedOnNBA to get 15% off your order. That's rugiet.com/LockedOnNBA. And don't forget to use our code LockedOnNBA so they know we sent you. Rougiette, stop making excuses and start making moves. All right, we are back here on Locked On Knicks. I'll just say last thing on the Josh Hart thing. People who listen know, like, I am on the side that you're talking about. That like fans have generally had. I like to think I've applied like some more nuance to it than maybe some of the stuff you see on Twitter. And like none of it is me calling like Josh selfish. I think there's like a world where this is a selfish decision. I think he is generally like inclined towards frankly, like laying his body on the line to maybe an unhealthy extent to trying to preserve like wins for this Knicks team and trying to lead this Knicks team to a championship. And he's put more time, effort, blood, sweat, and tears into the Knicks being a championship caliber team than I've ever done for anything in my life. So I say all of it with that context. I think he's amazing. I think he's been great for this team. I can only speak off of the facts that we know publicly, and the facts that we know publicly, which The Athletic, like we did not have a definitive timeline before today on how long the surgery would have kept him out. They said 3 months. To your point, that would have, he got injured late September. That would have put him back like conservatively early January. To me, that trade-off is worth it. And I think like whatever, 3.5 months would have been enough time to figure out his space in the offense. And to your point, like this is a year in his prime and it's incredibly valuable. To me, the best use of that year is to maximize your championship window. The Knicks championship window is maximized with the best version of Josh Hart. But maybe, to your point, there's a factor that I don't know, like doctors think by midseason that nerve pain will go away. His finger will just be slightly out of place and he'll be able to play to like 98% of his normal capacity. And a full year bought in with these guys in this system is actually in the aggregate better. So it is entirely plausible. I just don't know enough. Fans just don't know enough. And Josh sat with Leon, sat with Mike Brown, and made this decision as a group that this is ultimately what's best for the team. And if so, some of my criticism has been unwarranted. I'm curious to see where it goes because to your point, I thought he was, after like a slightly slow start to this game, he was really, really awesome. His energy was great. And like perhaps the most exciting thing to me was like in the fourth quarter, we saw some of the off the dribble bursts, both in the half court and in transition, like late shot clock, got to like a little pump and go off balance flip at the shot clock horn. That was like just a sick vintage Josh Hart type finish. And then in transition, we saw the spin layup, which he just kills people with off of a cat swap. Mikal push it up to him. Beautiful, beautiful play. I want to let you cook on if you want to go Jordan Clarkson because his shot making was exceptional and just like an accelerant for the Knicks in this game. OG Anunoby was awesome. 21 points, 4 assists, 2 steals. KAT, after some defensive lapses in the first half, like he put together such a complete game, particularly in the second half, got to the free throw line a ton where he went 8 for 8, 20 points, 15 boards, 5 assists, really great KAT game. Which of those three guys, or even someone else I'm not thinking of, do you want to finish this one up with?
Listen, man, I think you kind of answered your own question by listing 3 different names. It was a everybody got to eat kind of win. Nikola Vucevic, who I love his game. I love what a competent center can do for a young building team. I'm very in on all that. He was so bad defensively today. He looked every bit of 35 years old, and I just was almost underwhelmed by Towns' game overall. I mean, 20, 15, and 5 on the stat sheet, it's solid, but I don't think that it kind of accurately captures how much he left on the table. So for Karl-Anthony Towns, it did take him until pretty much that fourth quarter to start confidently putting the ball on the floor, taking guys to the rim, and finishing at the rim the way he wants to. Right. There are some times where Karl will get to the rim. He'll do a swim move, the Donovan Mitchell, the lacrosse move. And then he will allow the defense to dictate how the rest of his drive goes. If they put up a physical front, he'll while fading off to the side, push out and it's dude, what? There's no way that's what you had in mind when you started that drive. Doing this thing where, and I get at Mikal for this too, where you drive to the basket, which is an inherently physical act, and then your approach at the basket is to be as unphysical as possible. That it's infuriating when you watch the points get left on the table. So for Towns, who a lot of times I think kind of allows himself to go flying upside down into the ground to make a point to the officials that he probably should have gotten a foul call. There was this play tonight, and this kind of got at me because he literally, his ankles were above his ears. He's upside down on the court, neck on the left side of the stanchion, and he's fully upside down, right? And then he gets up, he runs back on defense and makes it within the 3-point line on the other side of the floor by the time a shot is taken. He's in position. Yeah. The problem is the position he made it to was a late closeout on an open 3-point shooter. You want to guess what happened with that shot? You want to guess where that ball went? It was the bottom of the net.
Jalen Smith enough times just raining threes in the second quarter.
Bottom of the net, man. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I think Karl goes flailing off to the side to make a point, and it's dude, they're not calling it. It's fair or it's not fair, but it's not changing. So you can't sell your team out defensively and make them play 4-on-5 for 3-4 passes of a play that ended up with an open 3. Because you're convinced that you're going to get a call out of it next time, maybe. And I think what was most striking to me was when Mitch came out of the game and kind of hobbled over to the bench. He sat, he man spread it as wide as you possibly get. He's 7 feet tall, so his knees are in different area codes, and he's just sitting back. And then you can see Anthony Goenaga, who's the Knicks head doctor, pretty much going around to different coaches and different things and going out, he's out. And listen, that was just for the lineup returning to the game. Mitch was back in the game in a couple minutes, but it was interesting to see kind of the F1 pit crew that was the Knicks training staff when Mitchell Robinson came over to the sideline. They're very aware of the condition his body is in, of the kind of plank that he walks, being as big as he is and strong as he is, and playing center in the modern NBA. You gotta jump. You gotta leave your feet at the same time, both of them at once. And that has been a lot for him physically over the last couple of years. That's another takeaway I had from this game tonight. It was just that it's literally like Luigi from Cars. It's just immediate. Oh, get him to the locker room, get him back there. They got him back there. Then they get him back on the bench. He's on the bench, but the whole time he's sitting there listening, talking with teammates, talking with coaches. There's a trainer with like a wooden box to prop his leg up on and stretching his leg out with a resistance. Like they're all over it. So yeah, these are the Knicks. These are the Knicks, Gavin. These are the 2026 Knicks. They're settling into things. We're getting a sense of who they are. Tonight was what it looks like when damn near everything goes right. And then not everything went right. Gershon Yabusele made it 5 total minutes over the last 2 games that he's played. He made it 0 second half minutes over the last 2 games. You said earlier he had 2 first half minutes. I'll do you one better. He had 2 first quarter minutes and was never seen from again.
I am admittedly very prone to overreacting. It's part of the joy of having a daily podcast. You get to overreact, and the next day you get to say, well, that was an overreaction, and have an underreaction. But I'm with you. You can't read too much into it. The Bulls didn't have Kobe White, didn't have Ayo Dosunmu, who just shredded the Knicks on Friday night. But this was, to your point, this is the Knicks fully healthy, proof of concept, I think, executed on both ends of the floor, by and large, with some lapses, exactly how Mike Brown wanted them to. And on nights where the threes are going in, it is going to look really, really good. He's Kris Pursiainen. You can check him out on all forms of social media. Be sure to read his latest on Clutch Points with a post game tonight. And you can find me, of course, over at Locked On Knicks. But until next time, be good. And we'll talk to you tomorrow night because they play the Wizards over here on Locked On Knicks.